Hello, and welcome to the Inforunners podcast. I'm Osiris Frost, and I'm joined by Execute and Dasein, and today we're going to talk about the Anvil Valkyrie.
To Valhalla!
Yeah, so this is another one that came out at CitizenCon, and geez, I have some really mixed feelings about this ship. It was really quickly developed, 2.5 months turnaround time they mentioned at CitizenCon, and I think that shows some real flaws. That said, I really love the look of this ship. She is a real beauty. She's a very art-driven ship, you can tell, but because of the really speedy turnaround time, I think it's got some really large flaws, unfortunately. What do you guys think of it? Where do you think it sits?
Well, let's look at the pros first, because the first big pro really leans to it is single-handedly the best dropship out there because of the crew that it carries, in addition to vehicles, and I've seen up to 2 vehicles in this thing, as well as being able to provide fire support. There's nothing out on the market that does better than that.
Yeah, well, like we've said, the middle of the range ships seem to be the ones that are going to be the best. You've got the Hercules, way too big. This can do a lot of what it can do, but obviously only 1 vehicle, not 2. And it's, it finds that sweet spot. So you've got guys and you've got vehicles, but not heaps of one or heaps little of the other. I keep coming to the drawbacks though, but yeah. What positives do you find with it, Osiris? He's like me. He's like me. He doesn't have any.
Nice to say, don't say anything at all. Well, I'm really not a fan of this ship, but I guess I will agree with you that it has a great aesthetic and it does carry more infantry and support vehicles than any other dropship. But I just at the price, I have a really hard time justifying not getting a Cutlass instead.
Well,
you can get 3 or 4 Cutlasses for the price, right?
And the only other big ship we had that could carry a lot of infantry, correct me if I'm wrong, was the Retaliator module that had the troop stuff in it, and that doesn't catch me as a dropship at all. And to be honest, you mentioned the Cutlass. That's 6 troops, and how many? And you could get 3 Cutlasses. That's still quite a lot. I'd almost prefer the 3 Cutlasses, to be honest. Except you obviously can't take the vehicle. So, I've seen
screenshots with 3 Cyclones and a Cutlass bay, and it's not. You're not going to get them in or out as easily as.
Sorry, did you say 3 Cyclones in a Cutlass?
What world are you in?
Yeah, I think you mean. Do you mean Dragonflies? Dragonflies? Because I don't think you can fit a Cutlass. Yeah. I don't think you can fit a Cutlass in one Cutlass. No, only 3.
You can fit 1 Cyclone in a Cutlass.
Right. Oh, really?
Not 3. Yeah. Wow. 3 Dragonflies.
It's not pretty getting 1 Cyclone.
Yeah, it comes out with no wheels at the other side, but it's all good. Yeah. So we got to move on to the negatives here. Unless you've got anything else you want to add, Dyson.
Cockpit view. Man, it has a absolutely gorgeous cockpit view for this type of ship, and it just shows that CIG is finally listening to people when it comes to cockpits.
I've got to say that's negative because there's a problem with a lot of the Anvil ships, and you see it on the subreddit, people saying that they need to raise the seat height on the Terrapin and this. It's the same thing. Like the thing's so high you can't see the land. Like if they could just raise it a bit, then you could possibly. Exactly. You need to be able to see the horizon line. So it needs to be. They need to lower that, and it's the same thing in the Terrapin. They have really great MFDs though, but they just need to lower it so you can see that horizon line. 100% accurate. What it was.
I don't disagree with that. But the fact that it doesn't have struts in the way and everything just makes that 10 times. Nicer.
They're getting there. Small incremental improvements. So hopefully they get there.
I will say this. The firepower of this thing is exactly what it needs to be. They're finally looking at size 3 turrets. Yeah, they look a little bit weird, but they're finally realizing size 3 is about what it needs to actually get the job done. And That's about the last thing I'm going to say really good about this ship is that.
I actually do have one positive. The remote turrets. I think they are exceptional. I think they are really well done, and I think they are the sweet spot on this ship. They are one of the things that make it really strong above other drop ships, let alone other ships in period. Like the ability to do that 180-degree arc from one side to the other, really, really strong. Negative, and probably my biggest gripe with this ship, and for this, I'm going to flick to Photoshop. Right, can you see me now?
Yes.
Yep. Cool. So what I did here, guys, is this is literally just the X-ray image of it. And you can see I've copied the outline.
Seizure warning, everyone.
Yeah, seizure warning. Sorry. And so basically what I want to try and show you here is the guns. Now I'm finding that I can't talk at the same time because I'm pushed to talk, but I'll do my best. So basically the guns are basically coming out here on these sides. And the fundamental problem with that is because of the angle of these back doors, you can't shoot back towards the front of the ship. It's really prevalent in the CitizenCon demo. Almost the entire time that they were looping around the vehicle, this gun was always fully off to the left-hand side like this. So this is its arc of fire. He was always constantly trying to shoot something over here that he couldn't reach. And that is the biggest problem with this ship. Where imagine you attach this gun to, say, a ship like the Cutlass, where it has perfectly straight doors, you'd actually end up with some kind of fire like that, which would be much better for this ship. Now, I think this ship does recover with having the remote turrets on the side, but it basically means that these guns here are pretty much relegated to only defending or covering fire as you depart the area to cover the soldiers you've just dropped off.
Which is what I think that entire premise of that is, because the flat doors on the Cutlass is great if you're going around, but that gives you at least the ability to have two guns covering the rear, giving troops that are retreating a little bit of cover fire. Plus, it can get some side coverage when it's landed. And that's really where, as much as I do not like the fact that it doesn't have that coverage, I feel like that's may actually be design intentional, not just rush. But give me those guns on the Cutlass, please. Just those doors serve no purpose because you can't get in through those doors unless you're an EVA. So give me that side gun, and that just turns the Cutlass into an amazing vessel.
I want them to release some kind of little man version of a turret, so you can just set that up inside the Cutlass and shoot out the doors. Do you know, like a little, almost like the in Star Wars, how they set up the little turrets, you know, and they shoot at the Millennium Falcon, like that. Yeah. So you can just put that on the edge of the door and just shoot out. That'd be really cool. But I honestly can't believe that this idea was not put onto the Cutlass. It seems to be like a no-brainer, but
it's
again,
a Huey. The Cutlass is a Huey. Yeah, why aren't you just like going, all right, let's just toss this on? And if you're concerned that it's going to be used in dogfighting, I don't see that having any use in a dogfight.
Well, bringing it back to
it's going to go by so quickly, you're not going to be able to get a beat on it with a rifle.
I look. To bringing the Huey concept back to the Valkyrie, that is what those guns are finally meant to be. Like you think of Vietnam and those, you know, the machine guns on the side of the helicopters in Vietnam. That's what they're trying to replicate here. You know, the World War II in space. I know it's a little bit more forward in Vietnam, but because they're so backswept on the ship, it just doesn't work. And the angle, I struggle to think of the coolness of why you'd ever use those guns in actual combat. They're only ever going to be relegated to defensive covering fire as you leave the battlefield.
Well, it still should be a minor complaint just because the fact the rest of the turrets cover so well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And that's what I mean. The only recovering thing for me is those remote turrets. I've got one other little gripe, and I know it's not on the notes, so I'll bring that up at the end. But the other one we've got here is depressurization, which is a big one, because you can literally open those doors and the whole cargo compartment...
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming. And you know how we were talking about the we were talking about the cyclone. It literally would be like a cyclone, sucking it straight out the little window, like the whole vehicle and everyone just straight out the window. So that's going to be a big thing if it's not looked at correctly. And then the really obvious one, and I think there's a reason for this though, is it can't take cargo, which just it's a nail in the coffin.
I hate that. That's another one of those terrible arbitrary design decisions that, to me, clearly seems to be a thing to put it in a role.
I was going to ask you why you reckon
they did it. Reason
to
continue to own a Cutlass. Otherwise, if you had cargo in this thing, you could make the argument that there's no reason to own a Cutlass.
I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
I would disagree with that too, given their relative price points. But I think that was probably the rationale in making that decision, was to not step on the Cutlass's role entirely.
I think you're missing one other ship. I think the other ship is the other end of the scale, which is the Hercules. I actually think it totally treads all over its face, because it basically relegates that to a tank transporter. Because why would you use it if you could use this? Do you know what I mean? So
you just answered the question though, because that's where the Hercules fits a completely different role than this ship. This ship is your hot drop ship. The Hercules, I do not really see doing hot drops. I actually see that thing being the one that parks about a kilometer out of the main combat, drops your tanks off and your troops, and they have to march in.
Here's the thing. I was talking with Hayes, right? And this is the conclusion we came to about this ship. Buy a bloody Hammerhead. Why? Because it takes about as many people to run the Hammerhead as this, and if you can afford a Hammerhead, it does everything this does. You can put a Cyclone or a Rover in the back of it. Yes, the troops are probably not secured, but they can fit in it, that's for sure. And then you take it down, it's got way better cover in gunfire, drop off your vehicle, and you leave. You could use that as a dropship. And at the price point, it's literally... You put two Valkyries against one Hammerhead, I'll take the Hammerhead, thanks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I actually disagree with what you're saying. I originally agreed with you.
No,
but I thought about this when I took the Hammerhead out earlier. The fuel. It's entirely this
fuel costs nothing. Like, fuel is so cheap.
It's not the cost of the fuel. It's just the pure amount of fuel that you're going to have to burn going fast.
Negligible if it costs nothing. Like, the fuel is very cheap. You can look in the universe; it's extremely cheap.
But you're not getting. It's not the cost; it's the fuel tanks. Like, it ate up a lot of fuel getting down to planet, and then getting up at any sort of decent speed.
Yeah, but you've got the guns. You don't need to, unless you're going to get absolutely swarmed by a whole another group of ships.
Ground emplacements.
It's got, dude. Every turret on a Hammerhead is a constellation. That is insane. That's so much fire to bring to bear. Like, you would just destroy everything, and the troops would get out and go, that was a nice visit, and get back on the ship and leave. Like, there's almost no need to actually have the dropship. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just... and if you actually have this thing fully manned, so you have 2 people on the remote turrets, 2 people on the guns, you have 1 on the top turret, and then you have the pilot, that's 6 people. The Hammerhead is fully manned with 7. Like, the sheer number of people you need is crazy for this ship to be fully armed. Yes, you do have 20 troops or 25 troops, I can't remember the number, sitting in the belly, and you could probably use 2 of those on the back gun, but still, that's a lot of people required for a dropship. And I just think, remember when we were talking about the Kraken episode, it's literally the sheer number of people make up the ship. Like, I just think the people are used better elsewhere.
But this will I see what you're saying, but I still think maneuverability in atmosphere is going to be a big deal, especially if you have ground emplacements. Because when you think about it, you try evasion of missiles, you're not going to invade in a Hammerhead. You might actually have a chance of evading in this.
Agreed. It probably has got the maneuverability factor, but you've also got a lot stronger hull in the Hammerhead, and the Hammerhead has got the turrets. It could just shoot back at the other turrets. Like, if you can bring 3 turrets to bear on one that's on the ground, you're gonna pop. There's a video that I linked. I'm pretty sure you've seen it, and this guy actually shows all the different ships. Obviously, they don't have shields, but a 600i like that, and that was with 1 turret. It just pops.
Yep.
It's crazy how strong the turrets are on this ship. Oh, the Hammerhead, sorry. But yeah, look, I didn't buy one. I know people that brought one. I got in and I tested things like I tested the back guns. I tested the remote turrets. The remote turrets are exceptionally good. They, like, to the point, I know when I was talking with Hayes, he wants this on more ships. It's just so evident that remote turrets kick the butt of man turrets. They just all over the shop.
Better field of view.
Yeah. Just, it's better, it's quicker, they move, because you don't have to physically move. You have to physically move in a man turret. A remote turret just, it's done.
I do want to go back to the cargo, though.
Yep, let's do
Which
that.
was the original issue here. And I know we're going to get a lot of hate for this, but the issue I see with it not having cargo, yes, it's supposed to be for a role, is entirely, you're going in there, you need to have cargo for your troops and everything. What if you, even if you just have the sides and you say, hey, it can only arbitrarily hold 8 SCU, 10 SCU, even if you're throwing an arbitrary number because you still want it to be used as a drop ship, you need to have some cargo for ammo. And you say, well, 1 SCU is a lot of ammo. Well, 20 guys shooting
Not
is a
for
lot.
20 guys, yeah.
I'm actually
Plus 2 quad weapons.
I'm actually surprised it doesn't mention ammo as like it's got a special place for cargo ammo. I find that really strange. Does that mean that you're relegated to all the turrets having to use lasers because there's no cargo space?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I want to go back to Squadron 42 for a minute. This ship is clearly, in my opinion, I think the Hoplite didn't work out as their dropship, and I think that's why this was made. I think it's glaringly obvious, and they've gone, all right, well, ground combat's a bigger focus now. We need it to be able to carry a vehicle. So that like, I'm pretty sure the Hoplites, I hate to say this, but dead. As in, I don't think we'll see it in Squadron 42 anymore. Let's be honest, it was a really weird ship. It felt hastily put together as well. What do you guys think? I think this is a better choice for the story, personally. Any words to say there?
I can't get over the cargo thing. It just seems arbitrary to me. And besides that, the point that Dasein brought up about how do you resupply the people you're transporting, that's a perfectly valid question. You need to have at least, I don't know, a few SCU of ammunition. And in your point, execute about the turrets, what they have to be energy weapons, or you're going to run out of bullets really fast.
Yeah. So it's a bit strange in that regard because just don't I don't understand how it's going to work. It basically makes this a very A to B ship. It's never going to hang around and waiting. It can only ever, like, you're going to fill up your guns with ammo and then you're going to have to go back to a ship to get help. So it's always going to be going back to a support ship. So this ship has got no exploration potential. It's got no long-term type of availability. It's literally leave one ship, go to another place and come back at best. That's it.
I actually don't have an issue with that.
It's very niche in what it does.
And again, it's nice to have niche ships that are really good at their role. I think the easiest thing they could do to fix all the problems here, one, for depressurization, just put that magical little force field air barrier that they have,
Tavaran shielding,
and just put that. There you go. Boom.
I think they're worried about. I think they're worried about, though, if they put that in it, it treads on the feet of the Prowler. And it's the same, like, to be honest, I wouldn't get a Prowler if this had the shields. Because the only thing that Prowler would have is those, the thing where it can't ground out.
It would still have the Tavaran shields that are the special wall shields. This thing would not have the wall shields. It would just have the airlock shields you have on the Cutlass Red.
Yeah, I'm talking about what's the thing on the Prowler? It's got those pads so it can't actually, you can come in really far. Yeah, but it won't actually hit the ground. So, yeah. And that'll allow it to kind of ride the hulls of other ships and stuff. So that'll be interesting.
It also has the Phalanx shield, which is really special defensive. I'm just saying, put a simple, just like an airlock thing that doesn't block bullets.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Air.
Not even a shield, just an air shield. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, just an air shield, and then the last thing to do that, just put a little bit of cargo space. As I'd love it to fit the whole thing, because this does not compete with the Cutlass. It's way too manpower and cost. You could get so many Cutlasses for the same price. It doesn't
much lower value.
another thing is the Redeemer. Now, I've been getting at least 5 or 6 comments that I've had to reply to this week on our old Redeemable Redeemer episode. People going, "Oh, this is because of the Valkyrie. This means this," and yeah, it was confirmed by John Crew that the Redeemer, like we said in that episode, is now going to be a pure gunship. Which I think, as a side note, I'm really happy about the Redeemer now. I'm interested to see where it's going to go, and I think it'll be a much better ship all said and done. Is there anything you guys want to add about that, or? Nope, because it's all right. Let's go. I think the price is probably the last thing we're going to end on. And Osiris touched on this. Do you want to anything you want to say, Osiris?
It costs 3.5 cutlasses.
Yeah, that nails it in the coffin right there. It's probably a bit expensive for being so niche, in my opinion. I think the nicheness of it probably relegates it to a 250, 300 price point, in my opinion. Let's say
Constellation Andromeda is what I was thinking. That's like the perfect range for it.
275.
A little bit lower, actually.
Yeah, 275 is where I think it should be, if it was the perfect pricing for me. But yeah, what about you, Dyson? And you 275, you reckon, or
220?
220. Okay.
The reason I say that is it is so niche. If they I don't think they're gonna give it the cargo space. And without even that little minute bit of cargo, and it's just niche role, there's just not really any need for the ship outside of pure military operations. So it doesn't need any extra cost, especially when you look at, all right, why get this when now I can just get a Cutlass and then get a Banu?
Well, the obvious thing is, like Osiris mentions with the 3 cutlasses, you can use those every day of the week. This thing is only going to come out when you need it. That said, I do think it's a ship that'll pop quite a bit, so I think LTI as a ship would be an advantage with this ship. But yeah, I struggle with it a lot, to be honest, because though I did kind of mock the Hercules a bit, the Hercules is a ship that you would probably still use every day of the week. This only when you're in combat. It's really restricted in role, and all the other negatives like the cargo and the guns, as in the back guns. It's I just can't find a place for it in my fleet personally. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, depressurization. Like it's one big plus is it's really good at what it does, and it's got those really good remote turrets. But it's sitting on either end of the seesaw in a really weird way, and it makes you struggle because you're doing this constantly, trying to balance everything that it does, and in the end, to me, it just falls to I can use another ship to do it, and I can keep using that ship. Why would I use this? And that's kind of where I ended up with it. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I always prefer versatility in ships over niche.
Oddly enough, I actually think the more versatile ship is actually the Hoplite. As much as it gets hate as being a weird ship, at least if you're looking at a ship that you want to do some dropship things in, and you don't want to get a Cutlass, at least that would give you the versatility of, oh, I can do some air combat, and I can also carry troops, and it gives it that little bit of versatility that you just don't get.
All right then. So if you like this topic, like this topic. If you don't, dislike this topic. You can find us on Discord if you guys ever want to have a chat. Have I missed any? I know I've missed something. What have I missed?
Please subscribe.
Yep. Oh, and we read every comment. We might not reply to every comment. We definitely read it, and we'll make sure Osiris is in there this time as well. He'll read your comments and stuff. So
join us on Discord.
Yeah, awesome. This has been Osiris. This has been Dasein, and I've been Execute. And we'll catch you next time.
See ya.